everyone, welcome to the Self Love Project, a work of love by over 30 people. A work of love by over 30 people, which is just so incredible. So, the first thing I want to say is thank you so much to everyone who was involved in making this project a success. I would not have been able to do this without you all. So, thank you so much for just being willing and excited and happy to send me voice memos to make this come to life. My vision for the project was to bring different perspectives to the podcast on the whole concept of self love. And we're going to go into the different aspects with each episode that will be released. So we'll talk about self love, we'll talk about self care, self reflection, and self awareness. We'll talk about self celebration, self improvement, boundaries, self compassion and forgiveness, relationships with others, and how they influence self love. I'm a firm believer in learning from others. And so, even when I was creating this podcast, my goal was to create a podcast that would bring different perspectives. And so, with this project, it's bringing so many different perspectives on aspects of self love. And so, my hope is that when people listen to this, they can get at least one thing, learn one new thing from somebody. Or you could listen and be like, oh, this really resonates with me. Or you could listen and be like, oh, you know what? Maybe if I start doing this, that could actually help me out. So that's my hope, is that we all learn from someone out there and that we can all continue to grow. So I really hope that you guys will enjoy this project. Make sure that you share with people. I think there's just so much that can be learned from this project, and I'm so excited. So without further ado, I present to you our 8th episode in the Self Love Project.
Do the relationships I have with other people feed into my self-love? Should they? And what are my thoughts? I absolutely think your relationship with other people should feed into your self-love. I think the people that are immediately around you, the people you choose to communicate with on a very frequent basis, have a significant role to play in how your life trajectory is going to go, what you're going to be able to accomplish, and how you're going to feel about yourself overall. So I feel like, for me, for example, if I'm at work doing all this work, I come home, do some more work, and then I go hang out with my boys. For me, that's a fun time, and that's a part of self-love, right? It's me taking the time to nourish the relationships that are going to last past any work, any hustle, any money you may be after in the moment. I absolutely feel it should feed into a person's self-love.
Yes, actually, I think that my relationships with other people feed into my self-love in terms of just, being more patient with myself. And I'm able to also then be patient with others. So it's certain things like that where it's like, okay, I am able to love myself. Therefore, I'm able to also nurture my other relationships with other people and love them as well. And just knowing also someone's love languages too, I feel like that also then really helps too. And yes, I feel as though, yes, relationships that you have with other people should definitely feed into your self-love, because then it's like we're surrounded by people all the time. We're surrounded by people we're in relationships with, either it's just friendships or whatever, there's just a lot of people that are around us. So definitely feeding into your self-love, you're able to live with other people properly. So yep, that's my take on that.
Do the relationships you have with other people feed into your self-love? Absolutely. Should they? Yes, they should. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, who needs a mirror when you have friends hyping you up? Like your day ones, your found family. Of course, self-love should be a thing from within. You have to be your own biggest fan. You have to love you before you could love anyone else. You have to shop for yourself before you can shop for anyone else. The relationships we have with others, they do have an impact on our self-love. But what I will say is they should complement our self-love and not replace it. It should be a reflection of what's within showing out on the outside. Because when a person just seeks outside validation, or sees their self-worth on the things, outside things, we set ourselves up for failure. Without a doubt, you're setting yourself up for hurt, disappointment. It's like it's like wanting a Michelin star experience, but then going to a McDonald's joint for that. You're not going to get it. That's a disappointment. You will get something, but it may not be as good and it won't satisfy you. But on a serious note, though, the relationships I have play a role in boosting my personal self love, my self esteem, like just surrounding myself with supportive, uplifting people is very, I would say it's very beneficial. There's this famous quote was saying that your network is your net worth. So I, I find it very beneficial. Cause remember, like, my tribe, these are the people in my corner, like, who see me at my highs and who see me at my lows, who show up when I can't show up for myself. Cause no man's an island and we need community. So these relationships serve as a mirror, reflecting back on my best qualities and helping me to see myself in a more positive light, to kind of see whether I am moving up in life or I need to change. So ultimately, the most relationship we have has to be with ourselves. By cultivating self-love from within, you build a strong foundation, and that just allows a more healthier, more fulfilling connection with others. So while it's great to have friends who, like, hype us when we're on our lows and support us, true self-love really begins and ends with you or with me as an individual.
Ooh, this is a hard one. But I would say yes. I would say yes. I would say most of my relationships in connections with others are an act of self-love, because most of those connections that I have with others, I have those connections because they provide me some level of joy. And, whenever I'm engaging something that makes me happy or provides me some level of joy, that is an act of self-love. I'm doing something that provides me some level of joy. I'm not a masochist. I don't enjoy everyone in the world. So outside of those interactions that I might have to engage with certain people, like work or whatever, I'm not going to. So I do think, I think going back to the other questions that we've had surrounding self-love, doing things that provide you joy is an act of self-love. And I'm not going to have conversations with people or relationships with people that don't. So with that definition, yes.
I think the relationship I have with others feed into my self-love. And I've been really fortunate to have a group of people around me that support me, that are great to help me think through my problems and provide me additional perspective. Men and women, single and married. So many iterations that I've just been blessed to have around me over the years, and now currently of people that I can lean on and know that I can trust with my problems, and that they'll give me the help and support that I need. I have been so fortunate, and there's 1,000 people that I could say thank you who brought me to who I am to be today. And I think that it's a blessing when you have people around you that can feed into your self-love instead of tearing you down or making you question yourself, that they see the good parts of you and help you recognize them.
I think that the people that you surround yourself with should feed into how you love yourself and how you feel about yourself. If you are surrounding yourself with people who are negative and are constantly putting you down, I think that definitely says a lot about how you view yourself. But if you are surrounding yourself with people who are supportive and encouraging, and you have a good support system, it then encourages you to do better in life. So I definitely think that the people that you surround yourself with and that you choose to surround yourself with does reflect a lot on how you feel about yourself in terms of how much you love and care about yourself.
Yes, I think that the relationships I have with other people feed directly into my self-love. And the reason for that is through understanding the relationship they have with themselves, the other people I have relationships with, it helps me to find some type of medium as to what relationship I should have with myself. And sometimes I do that by looking at the extreme cases. So people who have very, very, very bad self love or a relationship with others that lead to a very, very bad self-love. And then people who have really, really good on the opposite end of that spectrum. Good relationship with themselves, good self-love practices, and so on. And in doing that level of brief analysis, it's not really in-depth, I quickly say, hey, you should be kinder to yourself, right? By seeing that, or model after those people who are really, really good at practicing self-care and self-love. Now, personally, through that understanding, I think that those influences should naturally help you understand self-love. And it's not something that you should fully put weight on in determining how you should look after yourself. But it does help you see the extreme cases and modeling after the positive side of those extreme cases. So my thoughts on that are brief. Self-care looks different for others. You can take pieces from different people you value and go from there. But overall, I think you should have your own self-care practices and understand yourself the way you should understand yourself, because everyone's different.
The relationships you have with other people definitely feed into self-love to some extent, maybe to some significant extent, actually, because what you keep around you, you cannot be keeping ill company and expect to be happy within. Because what you're keeping outside those relationships that are what people can see, that's a true reflection of what's going on inside. So if you're keeping around people that are disrespectful to you and to other people, or to the waitress or the waiter or whatever the case may be, and you're okay being around that, you don't speak up about it, you don't, confront the person that you're keeping around over it, that just goes to show where you're at with it, like when it comes to being in tune with your emotions and just taking whatever. So if the wind blows east or west, you're just gonna blow with it. I believe that if you the relationship that you maintain or that you're willing to maintain already show what you're willing to take on and what you're willing to tolerate, because you have a full understanding of what your worth is. And what your worth or how you view your worth comes from how much self-love you pour into yourself. So you cannot say that you have self-love if you have a lot of toxic relationships around you. It's either you try to bring those relationships to ones with less tension or less trouble, if I can say that. But if you're not willing to do that and you're just going to take it lying down, then who are you? Do you even know your own worth? Because nobody under the sun deserves to be treated anyway. Nobody deserves to undergo like insults or ill treatment. But if you're taking that without saying a word, what you allow will continue. And it just reflects how you view yourself. So I do believe that the relationships that you maintain definitely are a true reflection of where you're at when it comes to self-love. They definitely do feed into self-love because they do reflect that about yourself.
100%. There's that saying that show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are, is so true, because it's a reflection of who you are. The people you spend time with is a reflection of who you are. If you spend times with bums, you're probably a bum. If you spend time with, high thinkers, and, you probably are a thinker too. So definitely it's an indication, or it's a sign to yourself to say, hey, this is what I associate myself with. These are the people I associate myself with. And that is what is always going to, and I think that definitely that feeds into your self-image, doesn't it? And you can either love or hate yourself, or you can be happy where you are, or you can feel like, maybe I can be actually doing better. So when we're talking about the people you're hanging out with, the people you're feeding your energy to, and people you're associating yourselves with, because their thoughts, it's influence at the end of the day, and they can influence you in a positive or negative, and way. So it can be a situation whereby if they're positively impacting your life, you'll see changes in your life. If they're always encouraging you, hey, let's go on that course together, or let's take that marathon together, let's go to the gym together. Like gym is always the easiest one, because one day you're feeling it, the other day you're not feeling it. And if you are two in the equation, it really helps, because one day the other one will be so pumped, and then one day, they're maybe not so pumped, and you're the one who's pumped, and you can say, hey, listen, hey, come on, let's go. You understand? So, and then if they go alone and and you ask them and they're like, hey, did you go to gym today? Yeah, I went in the morning. And you're like, oh man, almost a competition, or at least for me. And I'm like, okay, I also want to go today, so let's go. So, so I think that really, and if you're positively impacting each other, there's a net effect that happens. And I think even if yourself, when you look back at your habits, or someone's asking you, what do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? And you're telling them, hey, listen, I love to do a marathon. I'm actually training for a triathlon. Something good to talk about, and you feel good about yourself. So, having that kind of team around you that encourages you to do that, I think is very important, and definitely will impact how you see yourself. And I think that really feeds into your self-love.
I think in an ideal world, relationships with other people would not affect your self-love or the way that you view yourself, but it's not a perfect world. And my relationships with other people and the amount of support and love that they reflect back to me has helped me love myself better. Something that I got for our wedding when I was 23 years old was a scrapbook, and each of my bridesmaids wrote me a letter. And I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've reread that scrapbook, because these are 6 women that I love and adore and respect and are role models for me in my own life. And they're telling me how I have positively impacted them in a way that I didn't realize or hadn't allowed myself to realize. And so through them reflecting back to me my own good qualities and things that I should be proud of that I do, I've been able to kind of capitalize on that. And when I'm in a situation where somebody doesn't appreciate something about me or tells me it's a weakness, I am able to better say, no, I actually really love this about myself, and you telling me that is not possible. I also think the relationships, especially like my husband and my parents especially, really teach me how to not be so hard on myself in a way that I am not very good at. I'm constantly saying, well, I could have done this better, I could have done that better, but they reflect back to me that everyone is not perfect, and we're allowed to make mistakes as humans, and their help in me processing that has really allowed me to do it on my own without having to talk to them. So I think that the right relationships bolster your self-love, but if you don't value yourself enough to surround yourself with people who love and respect you, you're going to have a really hard time finding those traits within yourself. And so the minute that you feel like you're not being loved or respected, I think it's really important to take a break from that relationship so you're able to better focus on what you love about yourself without somebody else telling you that that's not something that you should love.
I do think the relationships we have with other people feeds into self-love, because I think a relationship with other people, especially in your intimate circle, is a mirror or a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself, or the kind of people you even have a relationship with shows how you are on, like what the state of your inner mental health looks like, or your inner peace levels that you have with your thoughts and like different personalities. And like everyone's had a long life, like we've all had different personalities that comes out with like family or friends or like work people, like, you know, the amalgamation of all of that is what enables us to have a full human experience, you know, for you to show up for yourself. And so I definitely feel that the relationships around us definitely help us with feeding self-love. I'm of the belief that you can't possibly have a fulfilling life having no connections at all. And that could be anybody, right? Doesn't have to be just a partner. I think in today's society, we put a lot of emphasis on what a partner means to you. But more than that, I think everyone should have a connection that's very real for their emotional needs, for their societal needs, for their ambitions and thoughts like that. And everyone should have an ally who would cheer them on for that. I think Dr. Vivek Murthy tells it a lot better in his book Together. But that's true, like we all have different needs, and having that strong relationship or an allyship with people is what makes us do that and thrive for that. And the pursuit of that is what I'd call self-love.
The relationships that I have definitely do feed into my self-love. I've got a group of about 5 or 6 people that I trust a lot, and these are people that I can talk to about almost anything in my life. They meet about 80% of the needs that I have from a social perspective. And the great thing about having people that are so close to you like that is that they're the kind of people that can hold a mirror up to you. And it's a mirror where in some aspects they're showing you the things that are good, the things that are right, the things that you don't need to worry about, maybe the things that you're insecure about but you're actually very good at. But sometimes they're also holding up a mirror to you to show you the things that you're not good at, to show you the things where you need to improve, to show you the places where you might have blind spots. So those are very, very important people for me to have in my life. The conversations I have with those, I definitely do consider them to be part of my self-love and self-care routine.
I do believe that the relationships that you have with people they have somewhat of a role into what self-love is, because when you're surrounded by people who are supportive, people who value and, you know, care for me, it in a way it reinforces my own sense of self-worth, and it helps me to see positive aspects of myself. So it definitely does have an impact externally, but I do know that it's really important to cultivate that within myself as an individual, because you can't solely rely on people. You can't solely rely on external like validation to determine your self-worth. It has to be something that comes from within you. It can definitely reinforce it. It can add to it. It can be like the cherry on top, but the cake, the actual dessert, the actual body and foundation of it has to come from within.
Relationships I have with others definitely do feed into my self-love personally. I think that that probably is true for most people. The number of relationships probably varies for most people, though. I think ultimately the most important thing about what does or doesn't count as self-love is just whatever you feel you need to have in your life to take care of yourself. And there's certainly people who are more introverted and people who are more extroverted that's going to be a bigger or smaller portion of their individual self-love. But for me, definitely my relationships are part of my self-love. That is more than anything, it's my support system to help me celebrate the highs and get through the lows of life.
This is an interesting question. I think my answer is yes, but I think going back to the definition of self-love, you could definitely make a strong case for yes or no. The reason my answer here is yes is, well, I don't think it's healthy to rely solely on the opinions and views of others for my own self-worth. I think it helps so much to have trusted people in my life that I have strong relationships with to help me see my best self, especially when I'm not really having an easy time seeing that myself. Some examples of this are just when the people closest to me are able to help identify an achievement or something they see me putting a lot of effort into, or an area of my life where they're seeing lots of growth. I just think in general, sometimes other people bring in different perspectives and they can really help us identify great things that we're doing that we might not have seen ourselves. And legitimately, I just sometimes forget about things. Like I forget how hard something might have been for me 6 months ago. So I love when a friend or family member can tell me, like, you were calling me every week telling me like how much you were struggling with that. And I'm like, oh yeah, like that was really hard for me and hopefully it's not anymore. So yeah, I think other people reminding me of who I am, where I've come from, where I'm going, is just so incredibly helpful. And I appreciate those close relationships in my life. And I also hope to contribute that to the people that I'm close with.
Yes, the relationships I have in my life definitely feed into my self-love 100%. My closest family and friends and significant others play a big role in how I feel about myself. Their words of affirmation, their excitement about my decisions and actions, them telling me they care about me or like me or love me, like all these things definitely help me validate my self-esteem and help me to love myself. Now, while I could probably work on not needing this kind of validation as much, in my opinion, I do think that this is an essential part of self-love and mental health in general, because, you know, having friends and people in your life who give you that love, support, just give a shit about you and your happiness is going to help you feel that those thoughts and feelings are real and that, you know, you deserve them. I mean, as humans, we are social creatures and we need that emotional connection and support from others for our well-being. That being said, to kind of like pay for it in a way, you should be willing to give that emotional connection and support back to these people as well. Give them love, give them support, give them emotional connection to the people that are important to you because they need it too. So if you want this kind of support from them, you must be willing to give it. And then we all benefit in the end.
Yes, I absolutely do think that the relationship I have with other people is a form of self-love, and that it should factor into how I measure self-love. I have never watched this movie, so I cannot vouch for its content, but I do like the title, The Hate You Give, and the way that I understand that statement is, you know, if you give hate into the world, you will receive hate into your life. And on a more positive note, if you give love into the world, you receive that love back. And so I do think the most selfish thing that I can do just so happens to be the most selfless thing that I can do. I do think I'm only as healthy as the relationships around me. And so making an effort to make sure that they're strong, they're healthy, they have mutual benefit, you know, like I get something out of the relationship as I like seek to give the other person that I'm in the relationship with like my life essentially. And as a result, like so long as it's mutual, that's the trick, right? And sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's not for a season. You know, there've been times when I've been really close to friends and, you know, they've been busy, or vice versa, which is actually more common. But over the long run, like just the investment into those friendships, into those relationships, I really do think factor into how healthy I am and are a form of self-love.
I think in some way they do feed into self-love. In that I feel like the love I give others and the love I receive then interact and help me even when I'm by myself. So in that way they feed into my self-love, but they also don't, in that I independently love myself and I don't attach my value to others. But again, there probably certain relationships, right? Like with family, like with loved ones, friends, where they might just subconsciously feed into the way I see myself, or like affirm the way I see myself. So there's that. But I try not to let people I'm not as close with, especially, like, determine how I see myself. So if they see me in a negative way, I try to objectively assess it and see if it's valid, if it's something based on something bad that I did. But if it's just people not liking you, which is totally fine, I'm also very fine with that. So yeah, I think that's my answer to that.
Absolutely, yes. And the reason I say that is because I truly believe that the relationships you have are the ones that build you. You can't just be having relationships with every Jane or Tom, Dick, and Harry. And like, it's not just romantic, right? But also even friendships, like friendships. And it builds you. Like the saying, birds of a feather flock together. And so I believe the people that are in your life show how much you love yourself. Like, for example, let's say you have a friendship with someone who steals, or someone who, I don't know, any of the sins that you can think of. Not judging also, right? But sometimes in a way, or someone that influences you in a bad way, sometimes we end up being like the people that we hang around. And also that speaks into our self-love. Like, is it serving me? It's serving my health? How's it affecting me? How's it affecting the people around me? And so, yes, I truly 100% believe that the people that we have relationships build our lives. Or, I mean, our, self-love.
I like to say I don't think a lot of other people's relationships really fit into my self-love. Although, like, my close friends, even though I might be on my self-love journey, I make sure I make time for them and my family. So usually I feel like, also depending on the comments or things that we might discuss, I will always kind of help with the journey of my self-love as well. And I think it's beneficial depending on the type of relationship you have with your close friends or your family. Sometimes it can have a positive impact on your self-love, or a negative one, depending on, like, if your family is being very judgmental, they don't see your goals or dreams being something meaningful to life. So being able to have those strong relationships with your family and your close ones, that being able to be very supportive kind of makes your self-love journey very, I want to say easy, but simpler than it might be if the relationship of those people was hindered in some way. So I think having that also helps with the self-love journey, because then like, hey, I have this person kind of like, looking out for me, supporting me. So yeah.
Yes, I believe the relationships that I have should make me feel good about myself, should make me feel empowered, encouraged, or at least open to change and growth. And I believe that's all a part of self-love. If the relationships make me feel bad about myself or ashamed, that's not something I would consider to be something that's close for me.
Certainly, it should fit into your self-love. I do not want to have a relationship with someone if they either do not compliment or encourage self-love. Because I do believe in order to do right with someone you're in a relationship with, you have to have self-love first, because otherwise you won't be able to truly love that person if you don't love yourself first.
Do my relationship with others feed into the love that I have for myself? Absolutely. I think I mentioned in one of the previous points that, like, I've been in a space where I've been on my own a lot more, and it's really made me take stock of the relationships I do have, the relationships I've been trying to build, and the relationships that may come forward, like, and how I let them manifest in my life. I am so grateful for the friendships, the sisterhoods, the brothers, the siblinghood, I guess, the chosen family I've made in addition to the family I do have. I'm grateful for all the people that I have in my life, because, and even the people who are not in my life anymore, I think that they've given an insight they've given an insight to who I am as a person. They have been a mirror. They have shown me the good, the bad, or whatever version of me, and how, and in a really amazing cases, sometimes the way people see you and you see how they see you, it is so affirming. It's really wonderful. So, yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like, especially my friends and my close family, they have shown me the kind of, like, the way that they think of me or how they show themselves to me is such an honor to have. And it makes me think, like, okay, if these people love me this way, there is no way I can love myself any less. Like, I have to either match this or even love myself more. So in my alone time, I think it also gave me the courage to be comfortable and be patient, when it comes to seeking out new relationships with people, be it new friendships, be it whatever. I feel like, I was so nervous about being on my own and not building community, that when I finally took the time to really enjoy my time alone and to sit and be like, I'm in no rush to build anything new or whatever. It will come when it's supposed to come. And actually, fair enough, a lot of good people have come into my life recently, and it's been wonderful. So I definitely think that your relationships really build into you. They really show, the kind of love that you can give yourself, because these people are willing to love you in such an amazing way. So, yeah, I love it. And you know what? I hope that I feed into these relationships as well. I hope that they are able to see the beauty in them through the way that I love them, and I hope I can continue to inspire, I can inspire more people that I'm with in my life, to just be like, yeah, you know what, we are loved. So yeah, it's a very reciprocal thing. I think it's wonderful. I think that I don't really have as much pressure on myself to build certain things or to whatever, because I think that when you kind of build on the relationships you do have, and you continue building on yourself, only like good things can come. And also discernment. I have to say discernment, because there are people who will take advantage of that. So yeah, being able to discern, like, hey, this person, they're great from afar. So yeah.
Absolutely, the relationships I have with other people should feed into self-love. Because I think if you have friends who do not want that part of you to grow, then you're in trouble, I really think. Because if your friend is just trying to, like, friends or partner or whoever, like, you should have relationships that fulfill you. You shouldn't have relationships that make you feel bad about yourself. And I think self-love is part of that, right? Having people around you that encourage you to grow, at least like within, like, I think it's absolutely important. And it has helped me, because it has helped me understand, okay, it doesn't matter. I don't always have to please the crowd or, those types of things. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
This one is difficult because, you don't want to victim blame. Sometimes you can love yourself very much and still have difficult relationships with people. And people can still fail to show up for you in the ways that you need, even when you love yourself very much. And in fact, I think sometimes it is the case that once you have a very high sense of self-love, you have very high boundaries, you know your needs and are able to name them, you take care of yourself and look out for yourself first before others, and love yourself very highly, it can actually result in there being a lot of conflict in your life, because many people that you're around, especially who don't love themselves, will be frustrated by your insistence on focusing on you and putting yourself first. And so it can be very difficult. And as in addition to that, like bad things happen to good people, and bad people happen to good people also. So I don't think, there's necessarily a connection between self-love and the relationships that we have, or at least in terms of you having better relationships just because you love yourself. But I do think self-love gives us an awareness about the kinds of treatment that we want for ourselves and that we deserve. And it gives us the bravery to seek those out, or to let go of relationships that are harming us. And I think that that's what self-love should do. It should give you courage to step out into the world based on your gut instincts, based on what you need. It should give you the ability to articulate those needs, and then it should give you the courage and the bravery to let go of what no longer serves you. And it takes practice, and every relationship is different. But self-love does not make relationships easier or better necessarily.
Yes, my relationships with other people feed into my self-love, because these people are not everybody though, but these people are my happiness. These people are my joy, my pillar of strength, my shoulders to cry on, my motivation, my purpose of living, my purpose of doing better in life, my therapy people. Like, they are the ones who improve me, who makes me want to be a better person.
I love this question. So to answer you, yes, the relationships that you have do feed into your self-love. And I like this question because the two are interrelated. You can practice all the self-care habits, going for spa days, going for girlfriend brunches, doing the eye patches, whatever it is that you do to take care of yourself as a self-care day. You can do all the things, but if the relationships that you have in your life are detrimental to you, leave you depleted, take more from you than they give, then you are not practicing self-love in its full sense. The relationships that you have should feed into you. They should nurture you. They should uplift you. Because self-love is not just a physical thing. It's not just a physical thing that, oh, wow, I got a massage. I went and I got my legs waxed. I got my hair done. My nails did. It's not just physical. It is part of it. It is physical. It is nice to look good and feel those things. But your emotional state is a very big part of it. And the relationships we have affect that. So I think it's important to evaluate the relationships you have once in a while. And if you have relationships that are taking away from you emotionally, you should consider decreasing those, pulling away, or doing something about those relationships, because you cannot practice self-love if you are engaging with people that take more from you than they give. So the answer is yes, it does.
Do my relationship with others? That's a tricky question. I think I'll go back to what I said. Self-love comes from within. People can influence how you feel, or loving yourself, like, it's an influence, like with any other emotion, but it's up to you. It's your responsibility in the end of the day to either accept it or deny it. Because, there's some people you can show as much love as you can and do everything, but it just doesn't work, right? It has to come from within. So I think it's still a personal responsibility. It's all up to you. Hence the word self-love. It comes from you. People can influence it. They can, nurture it, create environments that is good, but eventually it has to come to yourself. So I don't think anybody else has that responsibility apart from you yourself. You just gotta look deep and love yourself from yourself.
Yes, my relationships with others definitely feeds into my self-love. And in this case, I'm defining others as very close family members and really, really, really close friends. So inner circle friends. And it's played out in my life in different ways. One of the ways would be if I was in an argument or in a fight with someone and they said some negative things about me, some negative things about my character or my personality. If I spoke to these very close family members or really close friends, they were able to say positive things about me. And, if the other person had said something that was clearly a lie about my personality or my character, then those close family members and friends would speak truth to me, right? And another way would be sometimes, as people were down, maybe I would have wanted to achieve something or accomplish something by a certain time and I didn't. And with those people, they're able to, in my moments of feeling low, remind me of all the great things that I've accomplished or remind me of all the things that I've achieved and speak life into me. So in that way, those close people, trusted people, in moments where I'm down, they're able to boost me, or in moments where my self-love has kind of, dipped a little bit, they're able to speak love and kind of fill the cup, right? In moments where they're low. Now, the thing that I will say though is I still think in the same breath, it's important not to give anyone on earth that much power over you. So even people who are close friends, or close family, close friends especially, listen, let's be real, okay? I don't know if this has happened to other people, but I've had close friends where you end up just falling out. All of that being to say that sometimes even close friends could turn on you, or sometimes things could just end up being bad, right? And so if you'd given someone that much power over you, and just because they were a close friend, you took everything that they said over you as gospel, or if that person said something so negative and such a lie about you to your face, then the person, if you'd given them that much power, they could shatter how you see yourself. So I think at the end of the day, self-love should come from within. It should be from within. It's only in moments where you need reinforcements. I feel like when you feel like once in a while you're feeling low, right? And someone needs to just, maybe your self-love is at a 97% and then you just need that little top up, the 3%. Then yes, it's good to, have people who can do that for you or feed into your self-love that way. However, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be something you depend on a day-to-day basis. The only way for you to love yourself would be through what other people are saying to you, people who you're in close relation with. Because sometimes humans can also fail us. And sometimes, hey, Jesus had a Judas at the end of the day. So, if you've given someone so much power because you trust them so much, they could also end up saying something over you that is an utter lie and literally destroy your self-love, self-esteem, and everything like that. So it's important to just be secure and secure in who you are and secure in how you love yourself as well. And then the other stuff is just more of reinforcements when they're needed here and there.
To be honest, I think self-love is for self. So however you practice your self-love should not be relying on anyone's you should not be relied on anybody else's relationships. Sometimes people learn to know how to love you by how they see how you love yourself. Because everyone is raised differently. So some people, how they show love is not how you show love. So if they see you showing that love to yourself, then they will follow suit. But you should never rely on others to show that self-love to you. It's your sole responsibility to rely on yourself. That's why it's called self-love. It's not other people love. It's self-love. So I believe that do they feed into it? That's what it is. They can only feed into it if they are considerate about who I am as a person. And they see me showing that love to myself. They can't feed it to me, but I don't rely on people to feed into my own self-love. If you respect and love me enough, you see how I treat myself and you follow suit. So I'm the leader of my own form of love. I am the person in charge of that. And however someone decides to feed into it, that's if they are considerate and attentive to how I treat myself. All right, Michelle, I hope, my answers were good. It's always good to hear from you, and peace and love and blessings to you and everything you have for. I'm so happy you're still going on with the podcast, and keep going. I'm proud of you.